questions you have about that investigation to the Columbus Police. We also appreciate the interest that you have in news about Officer Hrushko. Dr. Drake has met with him and reports that he is doing well under the circumstances. Per standard procedure, he is on administrative leave, and the incident remains under investigation. Therefore, Officer Hrushko will not be available for interviews in the foreseeable future. We ask that you respect his privacy. We will hold other briefings if necessary as information becomes available and if this is appropriate based on consultation with law enforcement. Today, we are here to brief you and answer your questions about the status of the patients who were affected by yesterday's incident. We are grateful that one of them is with us here today to tell you about his experience and how he is doing. We will hear in a moment from Professor William Clark, an emeritus professor in the Ohio State University College of Engineering. We appreciate you being here, Professor Clark. But first, we have Dr. Andrew Thomas, who we heard from yesterday, the Chief Medical Officer of the Ohio State University, who is going to share an update. Dr. Thomas.
Thank you, Chris. My name is Andrew Thomas. I'm Chief Medical Officer for the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center. I have an update on a handful of items that we discussed yesterday at the press briefings. One of our patients who spent the night in the hospital, one of the 4 patients has been discharged. That's a professor who is sitting next to me. There are still 2 patients hospitalized over up 315 at Riverside Methodist Hospital, and then 1 other patient hospitalized here at the OSU Wexner Medical Center. They are all doing well. I've communicated either in person or by phone with the majority of the individuals, and everyone still continues to be healing, obviously working through the trauma of yesterday's events. But at this point, we're just thankful that there appear to be no life-threatening injuries, and we expect all the individuals to make a full recovery. Be happy to take any questions, or would you like to turn things over to the professor, Chris, at this point?
I think let's hear from Professor
Chris?
Clark.
Perfect.
Oh, yes, my name's William Clark. I'm a professor of material science and engineering, which is housed in Watts Hall and the McQuaig complex where the incident took place. I actually had taught a class a little bit down the road in Evans Lab from 8 to 9. I'd gone back to my office in Watts Hall, and as one does at that time of day, made coffee, and just started it when our building fire alarm went off. So everybody exited the building. It turned out it was a gas leak in some equipment in one of the research laboratories. So everybody was standing outside. The Columbus Fire Department turned up. The Columbus Police Department, I think, came with them as well. And firemen in the full gear and breathing apparatus went in to check on this leak. After about probably 15, 20 minutes, the firemen came out. And that's usually a sign that they've cleared the building and it's about time to go in. And I began to walk back a little bit east on West 19th towards the back entrance of Watts Hall there, which fronts onto that street. And as I was walking, I suddenly heard a shout and then this tremendous crash. And it was a silver car, the perpetrator's car, that had mounted the curb and hit a large, well, you saw them probably, one of those large concrete planters on the curb, bounced off. And that did enough damage to stop the car. And as it was stopping, I assumed, because I didn't really see it, as it was stopping, it clipped the back of my right leg and basically flipped me up in the air, and I landed on concrete, which at my age is not what you want to do. And so I was there and a little bit dazed and figuring how to get up. And meanwhile, the perpetrator had exited the vehicle on the other side, the road side, which was his driver's side, and had begun to attack the students. And there was a lot of noise and a lot of shouting. However, I got up, and with a number of students and some others, they started to make progress towards the building, to get in the building and hide. And even as I was doing that, before I could get to the back end of the building, which was only probably 20 yards away, I heard the 3 shots that presumably were the ones that Officer Hrushko fired that took down the assailant. that was it. I went down into the basement of the building, which of course I know very well. Okay, which I know very well, and sat there, and one of the students with me said, "Oh, you're bleeding," and I said, "Yeah, well, I've got a little blood." No, he said, "No," and there were footprints of blood all the way down the hall. So at that point, they called one of the emergency, I think it was in the fire department, emergency technicians. They came down, and they were fortunately already on the scene, and I was taken from there and transported to OSU Medical Center, where I was extremely well looked after. So I've just been discharged this afternoon. So and that's why I have yellow socks on and walking a little slowly. So what I usually do. No, I never heard the assailant say anything. First of all, my injuries, I say I've got had two deep lacerations down here just above the right ankle towards the back. Those were closed in the operating theater in the trauma center. And I also have some severe contusions down the left-hand side of the left leg, which they were concerned might possibly be a fracture in the tibia or fibia. And because of the amount of swelling, they couldn't really determine and see the fracture until sometime today. So they unfortunately determined there is no fracture there, but it's sort of swollen and bruising. So I am extremely apart from the leg trauma. Obviously, you don't do all these rib muscles and everything else much good when you get shot up into the air like that. So actually more inconvenient is I'm really sore and stiff in the ribs and back. When the car hit me, I didn't really know what to think. I thought, well, maybe this is a traffic accident. But then there were people started shouting immediately, and I couldn't hear what they said, but it was like panic shouting. So obviously, at that point, I figured out it was more than just a car accident. Yeah. I think that I'm not entirely sure. I think the two cuts in the leg were actually from the vehicle. I think the vehicle hit the planter, which basically destroyed much of the front end. And my impression is that it left a lot of open, jagged metalwork there, and it was that sliced the back of my leg. And they're two parallel cuts, about 4 or 5 inches long. Yeah. I wasn't. It happened so fast. I turned to go back in the building, and all of a sudden, this bang and this car's there, and I get flipped in the air, and it all happens so fast. I mean, say literally, at least it seemed to me. Maybe the time frame was a little compressed, but it seemed to me literally within 15 to 30 seconds, I heard the shots, and it was over. And I didn't look around. I saw, I think, one other student who was hit by the car and flipped up in the air. He was lying on the ground, and but I didn't see any of the people who were stabbed because they were off to my side. Well, I think I at this stage, until we really know all the facts, I prefer to hold judgment. He was an OSU student. He was from Somalia, but he's an OSU student. And having been a faculty member for 35 years, I'm only too aware of the things that drive students sometimes to do things that they wouldn't ordinarily do. And so, before I pass judgment on this young man, I would like to see exactly what the circumstances are and exactly why he took the course of action that he chose to. In the end of the day, as I said earlier, I mean, I'm sore, but I'm going home this afternoon, and he's dead. So I think, my sense is, out of respect just for the living and the dead, that we should wait until we know exactly what the truth is. Sorry?
What will it be like to return?
Oh, I'm happy to go in there. In fact, my wife drove me there. I parked outside today. My colleagues were in a faculty meeting, and I don't feel that the Watts Hall itself wasn't threatened. This was a street accident and a street incident, and it was just unfortunate that because of this completely unrelated fire alarm, there were a lot of people out there. it was also, in my view, very fortunate that he hit this big concrete planter, because that had not been there, and he'd have ridden up on the curve, he would have plowed into 40 or 50 people. So. I think it's very sad. I think it's very tragic, and something like this happens at any university. You know, I mean, I decided on a career in universities because, I think there's some sort of calling there. You're taking young people at 17, 18, you're trying to turn them into functional adults, and that doesn't just mean you train them in the classroom. You're also trying to show them how to live life. And so whenever anything like this happens, I think it's absolutely tragic. I mean, it's tragic for the people who are hurt. It's tragic for the young man's family and relatives, if they weren't implicated in anything sinister. So I think it's very, very sad. I think it's sad, especially on university campuses of all places, because those are the one places where, you feel that young people should be safe. I think he got out of the car after he crashed. So I heard the crash, and then I was on the ground just trying to get up, and there was sort of little chaos here, and I was on the driver's side of the car facing towards the rear, and he got out of the driver's side. I was on the passenger side. He got out of the driver's side on the other side, and that's where he started attacking people out towards the street. So all I heard was the shouting and the screaming from the people standing there. I didn't hear him say anything at all. No, I didn't. Well, I might have done, but I wasn't aware of separating him from. There were a lot of people around on the street, and I'd say by the time the gunshots, I heard the gunshots, I think he'd taken off well down 19th Avenue. No, I think he was a business major. I'm an engineering major. It just so happened that whether he was even in that building at all, because he drove along College and turned down there, so he needn't have had any business.